So I have drawn the graph once again because we are going to analyze this graph and to find the value of the game if this exists with some mixed strategies. Graphical method to solve the game is being continued from the previous session. And the coordinate of this point was 1 by 4 and 5 by 2. Okay, and this point is your x star, where x star is having the value 1 by 4. And the mixed strategy you have got with respect to this 1 by 4 and 3 by 4. Now, let us do the analysis. Carefully observe that, and this is, let us write for your clarity, for the clarity, let us write these names. This is your line 1 and this is your line 2. The green color is the line 1. Green color is your line 1. The blue color is your line 2. Now, what is the analysis? Now, player A, if decides to select his strategy x less than x star, that is x less than 1 by 4. This point is x star and this value is 1 by 4. You know, this distance is 1 by 4 distance. And this distance is 5 by 2 distance. Okay, we have found the coordinates. So if player A decides to select his strategy x less than x star, then in that case, if player B selects strategy 1, then player A is going to get maximum expected payoff. Why is it so? Look at the figure. So if suppose I decide to choose any probability value from this particular line, I have two possibilities. Either I am going to get some expected payoff from this line, or I am going to get some expected payoff from that line. Now suppose you are playing the game with me and I am choosing my strategy from here 1 by 4. I'm choosing my strategy lesser than 1 by 4. And you, without giving a thought to the problem, you are selecting your strategy 1, then actually you are choosing from line 1. You are sticking to line 1. And if you do so, and if I remain less than x star, then I'm going to get expected payoff, some sort of expected payoff from this particular green line, this portion. Okay. Since before playing the game, actually both the players are analyzing their situations, and then they are going to the field to compete with one another. So this is the mathematical analysis of the situation which is actually being played over here. Okay, so it is all a kind of thought experiment which is being taken into consideration by both the players. It's a thought experiment. It is not being decided on the spot, remember. But as I said in my previous session, that player B is not a dull player. He knows the rule of the game very well, and he also doing his part of analysis in his by sitting in his place. He's doing the same sort of graph. He's drawing the same sort of graph. So what player B is thinking at this point? So this is the thought of player A, which I have written over here. This is, you can consider this to be the thought of player A. Okay, so what is the thought of player B? Now, player B, as knows the facts, is not going to select strategy 1 with respect to the choice x less than 1 by 4 of player A. Okay, and so he, I mean player B, selects strategy 2 so that player A gets some sort of expected payoff from line 2, which is less than line 1, which is less than line 1. So when player B is thinking that, okay, I'm not going to select strategy 1 then, because if player A choose his strategy x less than 1 by 4, then he can have some kind of probability, kind of chance to get maximum payoff with respect to my choice. So he decides to stick to line 2, and therefore the maximum possibility of getting something, maximum possibility that player A can expect from this particular game and from this particular choice is this part of the line, because this is the lower value of line, lower expected payoff, and it is a part of line 2. Okay, what will happen, this is your step number 1, this is your analysis number 1. What is your analysis number 2? Now if you ask me that whether you are going to write these analysis, I mean, since you are going to sit for online examination, that is a different issue. Now in actual case, when we are supposed to solve a particular game problem using graphical method, and if you ask me that actually whether we are supposed to do the analysis using, we are supposed to do the analysis using by writing all these lines, the answer is yes, you are going to analyze, write all these lines. So at a certain, at some point, this particular analysis, this particular mathematics is actually become philosophical. I mean, this also a philosophical analysis. Okay, what your people think, it's not a mathematics, but I, how can I, how will I behave, it's a kind of philosophy which is running over here. So game theory is a kind of philosophy, and therefore much of the lines, much of these lines are being written over here. And you cannot solve game theory problem by graphical method using software. Okay, in software, if you apply software, they will try to give you the value with using algebraic, uh, the algebraic formula. But for this, you have to do the analysis by manually, by manual calculation. So therefore, it is a sort of time taking. Now, what will happen if player, some at some point player A decides, with respect to the situation depicted in analysis 1, now player A decides to stick to strategy, select his strategy greater than x star. So what will happen, my next analysis is when player A selects his strategy x, which is greater than 1 by 4. Question is, what will happen then? What will happen? Now, you, if you're writing the answer in the examination, don't write what will happen, because I'm teaching you, that's why I've written what will happen. You will continue by writing, by doing your analysis. You know very well what I mean to say. In that case, the maximum expected payoff, the maximum expected payoff of player A will be when player B selects his strategy 1. Now that is the scenario, you see. But if you decide, if I decide, okay, so this analysis, you see, this analysis, I am doing the analysis on my part, you are doing the same analysis on your part. But once we do the mathematics before going into play the game, where we are going to meet face to face, the mathematics is being done. But on the field, what I am going to do or what you are going to do, I cannot predict. I at least know that if I do so and if he does so, then this is my lower expected payoff and this is my higher expected payoff. But on the field, I never know what is going to happen. So the both analysis has to be performed to know the situation of the game which is going to be played by me and you. Okay, so this analysis is the player A is doing on his part as well as player B. So player A is saying that if I select my strategy greater than 1 by 4, what will happen then? In that case, if player B sticks to strategy 1, you see, if player B remains in no strategy, no, not strategy 1, strategy 2, because this is the part of line 2, that is line 2. In that case, player A is going to get the maximum expected payoff from this portion of the line. Okay, any value it can be, but it will be lying on this particular line. Depends upon if player A selects his strategy greater than 1 by 4 and player B decides to stick to strategy 2. But in the previous analysis, this was not the case. If player B sticks to strategy 2, but player A remains below x star, that is below 1 by 4, then player A is going to get lower expected payoff. But in any case, if player A decides to, I mean, move, decides to choose something greater than 1 by 4 and player B doesn't analyze the situation and he remains in line 2, then in that case again player A is going to get the maximum expected payoff. But obviously player B is not a dull player, so in that scenario, to optimize the situation, player B decides to select strategy 1. Now he is going to select strategy 1 with respect to the choice x greater than 1 by 4 of player A, so that player A gets lower expected payoff, and in that case, actually what is going to happen, we can expect, since both the players are clever to optimize the situation, we are going to get something from this part of the line, okay. So this is the line which is actually, we can expect that this is going to remain the situation from the viewpoint of both player A and player B. So this is the lower part of the intersecting lines. Okay, so this lower part and this intersection point is actually the thing which has to be taken into consideration. Okay, can I go to the next page because I have to write something? If you have finished copying this particular paragraphs, then I'm going to write my further analysis in the next page. So if you are done, you can write in the chat box. Can I go to the next page? Yes. So okay. So the final verdict, the final verdict of the game played between player A and B is that from the intersecting lines, from the intersecting lines, line 1 and line 2, the lower part of the lower part that has been marked bold is going to be played, going to be played to optimize the value of the game, to optimize the value of the game. And the value of the game is the y coordinate of the point P, that is of the intersecting point. Intersecting point. And you know that is that value, the value of this the value of the y coordinate is 5/2. So 5/2 is your value of the game in this particular case. 5/2 is the value of the game in this particular case. And what are the mixed strategies of the player A and the mixed strategies of player A here are x, which is given as follows: 1/4 and 3/4. What does it mean actually? Let me write it properly. What does it mean actually? It means when I say that the mixed strategy of the player A is 1/4 and 3/4, this means that if the game, the same game is played 4 times, the same game is being played 4 times between player A and player B. Okay, let me write it over here. This means that if the game G is played 4 times okay, I'm almost done. I'm almost done. This is the last line I'm going to write. So this means that if the game G is played 4 times between player A and player B, then player A is going to choose strategy less than 1/4 only once, and strategy greater than 1/4 only thrice. To get the value of the game as shown over here. So since we have class, then I'm going to pause my, I'm going to end my session over here. This part is very difficult, and if you try to analyze, try to select any 2 by 2 game which of mixed strategic game, and try to analyze the situation by yourself by doing the math. Otherwise, you'll not be able to grasp the idea if you don't do it by yourself. And whether this answer is correct or not, you can justify or verify that by using the algebraic process to the same game, to see the situation whether the algebraic process is giving you the same result for the mixed strategy and the value of the game. So I'm ending my today's session at this point. Okay, we are going to meet tomorrow at 9. Tomorrow at 9, I'm going to take another class, the last class. Okay, I'll talk to your seer about that.